this is it. I've saved up. I want to do this. Then investing in a designer, personally, I think is 100% worth it.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Edit. I am Amanda from Seattle.
I'm Erin from Nashville.
And I'm Whitney from Minneapolis.
And today we're going to talk all about building and designing a website and who we've used and who we recommend for beautiful photography websites. Okay, so first I want to ask, Erin, who do you use for your website build and design?
I have been using Showit since 2017. So I'm a Showit girl.
Okay, and how about you, Whitney?
So I have several websites. I actually have my photography portfolio on Adobe Portfolio.
Oh,
Yes.
Oh.
So, and then my the one website that I have for a project is Squarespace, and I'm working on a personal website on Squarespace.
Oh,
So, and I
very
actually
good.
love Squarespace. So I don't necessarily, I think Adobe Portfolio can be great for some things and for starting out fast, but I'm not saying like you should make your whole website on Adobe Portfolio.
Yeah.
It's a good, quick, easy fix.
Perfect. Well, the two that I am talking about today are going to be Showit and Squarespace. So there we go. I have researched a lot of different website builders and designers. And to me, the two of those, Showit and Squarespace, for photographers just blows everybody else out of the water. Like the designs that they have are amazing. The user friendliness is also a really big thing. I don't know about you all, but I am not the techiest person, especially when it comes to websites. So I need something that I can update on my own. I need something that I can make tweaks to that doesn't require me to have to do any coding because it just won't happen and it would totally end up breaking. Speaking of which, we were all talking about how our theeditweekly.com website is currently down because we pressed a button.
Pressed the button.
Update.
So it is,
update.
yeah. Whitney pressed a button and now it won't work, which is why the place that one is used with, like for the designer, we're not recommending that one because we pressed a button and it broke. So we're actually in the talks of like maybe doing a Squarespace, converting ours over to a Squarespace because we've had such great success with that on our personal websites.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to start off talking about Squarespace because I actually just got done designing and putting together one for my husband and his business partner for their company. So it's fresh on my brain. So what I really like about
it.
So I didn't.
You did
That's
it all yourself.
Well, so I did not do the design. What I did is, and this is like my big tip for the new photographer starting out or anybody that really wants a new website. They're maybe unhappy with the way theirs currently is, or they just want something fresh and new. You can go to a different website where you can buy a template, which is what I did. I used Go Live. Now, Go Live, I learned about through Jasmine Star and Promise Tangerman. They had a Go Live, or not Go Live, sorry, Creative Live. There we go. I'm saying Go Live because that's their company. They were on Creative Live and they had a whole episode about websites and branding and finding your voice, which we just had an episode about that. And so I think that that's really great that we're talking about websites now after talking about branding. But they had a whole course about it. And then Promise showed her whole like baby of Go Live, and we learned all about their template websites. And I popped over as soon as I heard about them and loved their site. So I've always kept it in the back of my head because they were Squarespace and I didn't use Squarespace. So when my husband needed a website that looked good, I went over and I had so much fun browsing through all the different templates that they offer. What I love is that they are designed by designers, but they're also designed by people who get the photography world. And they get the podcasting world, and they have all of these different ones that you can use for your specialty. So I found one that I liked, and y'all, I have worked with designers. and I have bought templates. And templates are, if you're on a budget, that is the way to go. At the time I'm recording this, it was $299 for this beautiful, amazing template, and totally worth it. I also got through Go Live step-by-step video instructions on how to change everything I needed to in this, which for me that was money. Having to
Love it.
go through and find stuff piecemeal or going onto YouTube and searching is not what I want when I need to get a website up. I got their website completely customized to them in 3 days. And this was working in the evenings for a couple of hours every night. So this is a fabulous, fabulous option for a photographer. There are so many different templates on there that you can use. You can, I don't know, with the price tag of $299. And again, this is the time of recording, so I'm not sure what their prices are, currently, if you're listening to this later than April of 2024. But the nice thing is it gives you the opportunity, if you want to refresh for your brand or just a refresh website, $299 is really affordable in the website world to go grab yourself something different if you're ready for that. So have either of you ever used a template before when designing your websites?
Well, yes. And I just shared this. A long time ago, we entered a contest to win a template. And my spouse, Peter, submitted this photo so he just is very big on Chucks, like always wore them. And when I first met him, when I first saw him, I noticed his shoes. We didn't meet that night, but I was like, oh, look at that guy with the cute beat up Chuck Taylors. So he submitted a photo to a contest with a whole stack of his old Chuck Taylors, and it won. And we won this template. And this was so long ago. I mean, this was probably 15 years ago. We were chatting about it. The template, I'm not even going to name them because the whole company crashed and burned.
Oh no.
Years after that, we got some wonderful use of it. We loved it. We love the template. But yeah, the company's gone, but I love using templates because it gives you an easy start. And I'm just thinking when we say, because I know if you're starting out $299 sounds like a lot, but you're getting something that you can make look like you.
Yeah.
And it's not going to look like everyone else. And if you're paying a designer for something like this, you're talking in the thousands. So
yeah. I will touch on that in just a little bit too, about what the process is like when you hire a designer. Okay, Erin, how about you? Have you used a template before?
I have. So one thing I want to say is, listener, whenever you go to check out Go Live, make sure that you go to golivehq.co. Do not type in golive.com. Like I just did on my phone while Amanda was talking.
That is a not safe for work website.
It is not safe for work. So while Amanda was talking, I was like, oh, I'm going to look this up on my phone. And then I was like, oh, this is not the website I was looking for.
Yes, golivehq.co.
Google it or type in what we just told you, but do not type in just golive.com. That's where my brain went.
Unless you want to.
Unless you want to. Yes.
Definitely not template websites being
not safe for work. Not template websites. Yeah. So now that I've said that, I can get my brain back on track. But I was like, we have to tell these people to not do what I just did. What if they were at their desk listening to our podcast and type in, they're like, oh, just like,
so there real quick. Oh my gosh, that's funny. I don't think I've ever actually typed in their URL either. I think I've always just gone to Google because I go to Google for everything and just type in what I'm looking for. So
and I don't know. I mean, I guess because it's my phone browser, I guess, I pulled it up and then it was like, I'm sure it's just golive.com. Nope. It is not.
No, it's not.
It is not. So, okay. The question was, have I ever used a template? And the answer is yes. So I do have some side projects. We had a family website at one point when we were, when we were trying to expand our family through adoption and different things. And so I've actually used Squarespace before. I'm not using it for my photography business right now, but I've used Squarespace. And I just went into Squarespace and just looked at the templates that they had. I didn't get anything fancy, and it got the job done for me. And we've talked about this on previous episodes, but I think it's easy to chase shiny things.
Yeah.
And that's not always where your money is best spent in the beginning. And so the great thing about Squarespace is, like you, I'm not techie. I'm not a graphic designer. I like to think I can put things together pretty nicely, but not as good as they can. So yes, I have used the free built-in easy plug and play Squarespace templates before and love them.
Yeah. Well, and that's what's nice, I think, about Squarespace is that they do have a lot of templates already built in that you can use, and that will totally work for you right now until you can get that budget to get a template one. But that's what I love about these templates is that so many of these websites just have like the template designers that you can get. There are so many new designs that appear when some new trend happens too. So the nice thing is that you can keep browsing through options while you are working on maybe one that's a free version of what's available in Squarespace. And then you can kind of keep an eye out for when something, hits you and you're like, ooh, and keep in mind Black Friday, there are usually sales going on. There's usually during the holidays, some sort of sale that happens. So you can kind of keep something in mind and then wait until a sale hits and then get that template for a little bit less money as well.
Yeah. Excellent tip.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at for Squarespace. I loved that the instructions were included. I feel like if you're going to get a template website, it's really important to make sure that you've got instructions for how to work with that template. So whatever website you go to get a template, please do some research and make sure that they have step-by-step instructions or step-by-step videos, because otherwise, if you're not a technical person, it can be a lot harder than you realize to go in there and change certain things. So that's just my little disclaimer for that, because I have purchased templates that didn't come with it, and the amount of time that I have spent just trying to figure it out ended up making it so it wasn't worth that $2.99 cost. It ended up costing me so much more of my time. Okay. Before I dive into Showit, speaking of time versus money currency, there's kind of two different currencies. There's time currency and there's money currency.
I was just hanging on that for a second, thinking like, oh, that's a good point. It cost you more to figure it out than just paying. Yeah,
exactly. And this is where Erin and I know we both have paid for and used a designer for Showit. But before I touch on Showit's websites, I just want to say that when you're starting out, a lot of time you have that time currency available. You have time that you can invest to do this. And when you've been at it a little bit longer, or when you've had like a high paying client, that is when you maybe have the money available, your actual like money currency to buy something. I personally saved up for 2 years to hire a web designer. I really wanted something custom. I really wanted something that felt like me. And I really wanted to refresh my brand, not do a full like rebrand, but to refresh it. So that's when I decided to hire a designer. And I had gone to a bunch of photographer websites who I liked, and I just kept going to the bottom of their website to see who designed it. And I kept this list of the designers that I just thought their websites were awesome and really just looked different than other stuff I had seen and just kind of spoke to me. And I looked up their pricing, and I had my number I had to reach, and I saved up for 2 years. And I loved the experience that I had. But that, I used template websites in the interim to get me closer to what I wanted. But I realized in order to get what I really, really wanted out of it, I would need to hire somebody. So that is an option as well. You can definitely hire somebody to do a custom website for you. But again, that's going to cost you more. I have worked with 2 different website designers, and they both have been right around $3,000 to work with. The first one was in 2017, if I'm remembering my math correctly, and the other one was in 2019. So it was right around $3,000 for me to work with each of them. So definitely a heftier price than $299. What I love about working with an actual designer on a custom website is that they walk you through. They give you, at least from my experience, both the website designers that I used, they gave me tons of instructions of things I had to do. They had me create mood boards for them for what I felt like represented my brand and my designs and what I really wanted. They had me fill out questionnaire after questionnaire, really telling them about who my target client is, who's my audience, what do I want to get across, what are all of the different, pages that I want on my website, what is important for me to get across to my audience. That way they could take all of that and create something amazing. So it's a lot more of an intensive process. It took, for my first website, I think it took about 3 months from start to finish to get it all done. But I loved it and it was so worth it. It was beautiful. And then when I was ready for a rebrand, that same thing. It took about 2 months to get everything all figured out. You go through revisions. That's usually something that can be included in the package. So I went through 2 revisions, and then we got it. And that's what I have right now. So I just wanted to speak on that, is that when you're first starting out, the time currency makes it so that you can spend a little bit more time on putting your website together using a more inexpensive template. And then when you decide, you know what, this is it, I've saved up, I want to do this, then investing in a designer, personally, I think is 100% worth it. For me, it has been both times. They can do a lot of stuff custom for you that you maybe can't find in a template. So I know that, Erin, you said you've worked with a designer before. Was the process sort of the same for you of filling out questionnaires and doing mood boards?
Yeah, I was just poking around at our old emails from 2016 and because we launched early 2017. So I was really contacting her in 2016. I was trying to remember how much I paid for it. So I was looking for an invoice, and I feel like mine was right around somewhere in between like 2,000, 2,500. Of course, this was a while ago. It was 2017. And she is no longer customizing websites. I do believe she still does an hourly maintenance fee, but let me back up. So it was not quite as much of an investment as yours, but the same way that you found your designer that you loved, I had seen a website that was designed by her, and it was the most stunning photography website I had ever seen. And so I didn't even look around. I just contacted her. The photographer was a wedding photographer, probably about an hour and a half away. I didn't feel weird about like saying I want something similar to this, but he was male. His was more masculine. He was, you know what I'm saying? He is still male, by the way. That's a weird way to say it. And his was more masculine and just moodier, but the overall detail, the customization of it, I had not seen before. That was what stood out to me. So I contacted her. We started with a Pinterest board. So, and she had this process where it's like, you are supposed to go in and pin, let's say 100, you're supposed to have 100 pins, which felt like a lot. Then she had you narrow it down, and then she had you narrow it down, and then she had like parameters and like homework. So all of a sudden you end up with this really fine-tuned, like, oh, this is my style. I didn't know this was what I was going for. It was a really fun exercise. And then she talked about my target client and the things that they were looking at. And, it's just so many things that I hadn't even thought about, or I wouldn't have thought about if I were just picking a template that, oh, this looks pretty, So it was much more involved, and it was, like you say, it was more time consuming, but so worth it. It was at a time for me where I was busy enough to where I couldn't learn it all myself. Didn't want to put the time into it. I had too much business to be sitting at the computer that much, but also I wanted to raise my prices. And I knew that was going to position me as one of the top 2, if not the top, because I tried to not price shop and all of that, but I knew that I was possibly going to be the most expensive senior portrait photographer in town. And I felt like I needed something to where from the moment they saw my stuff, it made me stand out.
Exactly.
It had to be everything, whether it was visual branding or whether it was, the voice or the value or all of that, it all had to be just apples to oranges to the next photographer, right? If I was going to be the most expensive, it had to be. So anyway, I did splurge for that for me at that point. Now, the tricky part about Showit, you've not said this yet, but I know that you probably will get to it. I don't know how to work it. So once she said it, and once she had everything up and going, it's not as user-friendly as Squarespace or some other websites. And so the tricky part about that is you better love it, because you're probably going to be too scared to go in there yourself and change it.
Showit definitely has more of a learning curve than Squarespace.
Yeah. And I've learned a few things over the years, but when I needed to have a big portion removed and replaced with something else, I didn't even attempt it on my own. I went into a Showit group on Facebook and I said, here's what I need changed. Who can do it for me? Because at the time, my designer was on a maternity leave and was not working.
Yeah.
But so I said, here's what I need. Who can do it? And there were people that raised their hands and gave me rates. So, just saying, I love Showit so much, but I'm going to outsource that. I am not going to attempt to DIY that. And so you just need to be prepared that you might also have maintenance costs involved if you're not willing to learn it yourself.
Yeah.
And we had we worked with a couple designers as well for websites, and they were on they were hosted on Media Temple, which is not don't ask me to explain Media Temple.
I'm I've never even heard of that before. No,
Media Temple. It's not you're not going to go get templates. It's really just the hosting. But at the time, our sites were custom built. So they weren't based on a Squarespace platform or a Showit platform. They were just completely custom built. But our designers would, if something needed to be changed, they would go in, I could email them and they would go in and change it.
Yeah.
And I don't remember if we would pay. I think if we had any big changes, we would have to pay for that, but that was part of the cost when we initially did that. So if there were small things, or if something was this isn't right, they could go in very quickly and fix it. And I love that, because even, that is the thing with Squarespace and now our WordPress blog. I'm I can't even get into WordPress right now. And once they give me instructions to change it, I'm still probably not going to know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So it's so nice to have someone to say, hey, this is broken.
This is what I need to.
Yeah.
And then it would get fixed.
Right. So, but I think it's important to factor in those costs when you're trying to budget and see, and, and it may be that one designer offers a certain amount of maintenance included, one of them doesn't. So that's just something that I never thought of on the front end, was to think, well, what happens if I need something changed?
Yeah, exactly.
Beautiful design that you've put together.
Yep.
So, and Showit may be so easy to the next person. I think our brains just work differently.
I think
and when I look at it,
to that,
I'm like, this is not how my brain works. Let me hire someone who can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a good lead in for Showit, is that I do really love it too. Same thing. I love my website. It is I go to it and I just swoon. It's beautiful. It's something I couldn't have ever created. And it's something that I've never seen a template for that looks exactly like that, which I also really enjoy. It is a little bit more technical. I have lucked out in both the designers that I hired, they both either had video tutorials to give me for afterwards so that I could make tweaks. Or they have just, when I've said, hey, I need this done, or hey, this is kind of broken, they have gone in there to make those changes for me and then showed me how to do it so that if it happened the next time, I would be able to do it myself. So that definitely super helpful, because again, for me, it was a much steeper learning curve, learning how to adjust my Showit template or my Showit website than it was for me to go into Squarespace and do it.
Yeah.
But what I love about Squarespace is that the websites that are on there, I mean, I don't know, there's just something about them. They look so, to me, different, and so much, I don't know, so much more elegant, maybe might be the word. It just seems like the websites I've seen through there, I don't know what it is, but it just seems like they're capable of a lot more. I really
Can you say that again? You mean Showit?
Yeah, sorry, Showit. My gosh, should I
Okay.
say Squarespace?
I wasn't
Yeah.
sure for a
Yeah.
minute.
I
No,
know.
I was like,
Everything needs to have like all these S. the
I
S
know,
ones.
right? Yeah.
But yeah, so with Showit, there is just something like, so what I really wanted, my target client, really, I pictured them being, they kind of grew up in the late 2000s or early 2000s, late 90s, where you did a bunch of these, like, you kind of did Mad Libs, and you did all of these different magazine surveys, and like that's kind of what you grew up on. And so I kind of wanted to bring some of that nostalgia to it. And I really wanted a quiz. I really wanted a quiz to be on my website where you could click it and it would advance to the next one. And at the end, you'd be given like the results of your quiz. And so I couldn't find that anywhere on Squarespace, which is when I went out and found Showit, and then found a designer that I really, really loved who created those. And she did that, and I love it. It's like my favorite part of my website.
I'm jealous of it.
It's so fun, and my clients love it. Like, I feel like that is the one piece of feedback I've been given, is that they're like, oh my gosh, I loved going on there. It was really fun to go take this quiz to see for me, it's what's your wall personality. So it helps you decide what products you want to get out of our photo shoot.
So good.
And so it's really fun to get that feedback from your clients too, and see that they had never done something like that before, like on a photographer's website. So that's what I really loved about using Showit. And they do have different designers that you can get a template from as well. So Tonic is one of the brands that have a ton of different Showit templates you can have. I love looking through theirs. The creatives behind it are just amazing. They have some really, really cool stuff. I don't know what their current price point is. But definitely you can go check them out too and see. And I know that they've got varying degrees. There were different budget that you could fit into for Showit. So that is my experience there, is that the most feedback I've ever gotten from my clients is when I had a Showit site and they were able to go in there and have some fun with it. And I felt like I could showcase more of my personality as well. So that's my 2 cents on Showit versus Squarespace. Is Showit is definitely going to be more of that technical learning curve. At the same time, I think it's worth it. It's worth it to invest in either learning some of that yourself if you have the time, or if you've got the budget, hiring somebody who can do that for you. Or if you're kind of in between, getting that template. And the templates, really, they usually do come with some sort of instructions, at least all the current ones.
By the way, I've never used a Tonic template since I just hired a designer right when I moved to Showit, but I love their Instagram. I don't know if you follow them on Instagram, but they have a really, whoever their social media manager is great. They have an excellent Instagram.
I feel like you get their personality. Like, it's one of those, their personality comes through. And I feel like that's how it is with their template websites too. They just have solid designers, really solid people working on those. And again, like we've talked about, we're photographers, we're not website designers. So to have something out there that has been created that is more of a discount than hiring somebody is a really, really fantastic option just to get your website out there. And I really want to touch on this too, is I think that there are a lot of photographers out there that are starting, that are like, well, why do I really need a website? Like, I can just put my stuff on, Instagram, Facebook, like all of the social media avenues, TikTok, I can throw stuff on there. The thing is, you don't own that. You don't own you don't own your social media. I have known so many people whose either accounts have gotten hacked and they've lost all their stuff. They've had accounts hijacked. They've had things go down. They've had stuff fail to upload. And in the end, I mean, I don't know what's going to end up happening with all of these social media avenues. And right now, TikTok is about to be banned unless there's a US buyer. So who knows what's going to happen with that as well, versus your website, your domain, that is yours to have.
And the longevity of your website with good SEO living on Google versus some social media that, and so, I mean, I don't get most of my clients from social media. I get them from being on the first page of Google. I was number one for a really long time, and
Were
it kills me that I'm
you?
not
Oh,
number
I
one
love that.
anymore.
I don't think I've ever been number one, but that's amazing. That's
Gosh.
an amazing stat there, Erin.
Sidebar, I won a workshop seat with a mutual friend of ours, Whitney, Phil Carlson. Phil Carlson. I just gave him your last name. I'm sorry, Phil Thornton. So Phil and Mindy, I have a pop-up saying that I need to calibrate my monitor. Thank you, Spider Utility. Okay. So I took an SEO workshop and slowly worked my way up, and I was number one on Google. And it, again, a good website and showing up on Google is really where it's at.
I mean, that's where you're going to get found. All the other, social media, you're going to hope that the algorithm can help you out there, and you can hope people will find you. But I've been told by so many people that they don't see a lot of my stuff pop up in their feed anymore because I'm just not posting a ton of reels, and that's what's getting pushed right now to the top. And I've even noticed that too with friends and fellow photographers that I follow. I'm not seeing a lot of their stuff unless they are choosing trending audio or doing more reels. If they're just doing some regular carousels, they're just not posting as high in my feed. So having a website where your information can live is really crucial. It's really, really important. And being able to have a beautiful design too, because again, think about who is hiring you. They want to see something that is professional. They're about to spend, usually, it's a luxury product to be a photographer. So they're choosing to spend their money with you. And that first impression really is important. So seeing that up on a website, it screams professional. And that's that's a really good first place to start with your client before you wow them with your branding and with all of your client experiences. But they need to start somewhere, and they are going to judge you on what their first impression is.
100%.
There we go. So those are our takeaways here for choosing a website designer and builder. Let us know in the comments below, if you're watching this on YouTube, who you use and what your experience has been. And if this episode has been helpful, please like and subscribe. And we would love it if you referred other photographers to our podcast to help us grow our channel. And we appreciate you tuning in again this week. And we will see you next week with another episode. Thanks so much. Bye.
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 Okay, Photo BFFs, if you have not subscribed, do that right now so you never miss a new episode. You can also find us at theeditweekly.com, where we have free resources and downloads for you to help grow your photo business.